Hello, in this Bootstrap 4 video we're going to cover how to nest columns. So what is nesting columns? It basically allows you to put columns and rows within each other. You might be thinking, why do you want to do that? Well, you may have noticed that I said a few videos ago that you can only have a maximum of 12 columns. That's the way Bootstrap is designed, and they have to be whole numbers. So you can't have 6.5 or you can't have, let's say, 7.5, something like that. But I did briefly say that technically there's a way to get around that, and nesting columns is that way. You don't just use nesting columns to get around that, but it's also a great way of grouping content even more. So you could group the overall set of content, and maybe in that group there's several more pieces of content that you want to group. So for example, we've got this element at the top right here, and for the extra large screen size I'm going to set it to 6, refresh my browser, and there you go, it's 6 columns wide. So if I just go to my text data, and now inside here I'm just going to actually delete the text and put another row. So this is how you nest columns. You have to put another row inside it, class row. Now inside here you put another div, and this has a class and for this you simply put col dash the screen size and then the amount of columns that you want to span. And here's the key part. If I were to put dash xl dash 12, this spans 12 columns, but it's spanning 12 columns in terms of its parent element, and its parent element spans 6 columns. So if I were to put 6 columns, it's technically spanning a quarter of the entire row, because this element is spanning half of the line and this is spanning half of that element, aka this one here. So in here I'm going to put div1 and I'm going to assign a color. Actually, I'm going to create a new color for it. Should I? Nah, I won't bother. I'll use an existing color. I will use blue. Actually, I'm also going to delete these just to make it a little easier. I'm going to copy and paste this. I'm going to change this to a 2, change this to green, save it, go to my browser, refresh, and as you can see, we've got a blue and a green element. But if you have a look, we only have one element right here, which is red, and the reason we can't see any red because they're covered by its 2 child elements. And like I said, even though we have a column size of 6 and a column size of 6, it doesn't span half of the screen, it spans half of its parent. And that's technically the same with what this is doing. It's just because this doesn't have any other elements above it that are set to a X amount of column space. It's actually just spanning the width of the body, aka right here, or I should really say the row in the container, which is within the body, hence why this is working like it is. So if I were to put, let's say 4, save it, refresh, and as you can see there's a bit of red there because we got this element that spans 4 columns, this element spans 6 columns, so 4 plus 6 is 10, a total of 12 columns available. 12 minus 10 is 2, and we have 2 left over. So you don't have to fill all 12 columns. The principle is exactly the same as regular columns. So if I were to, let's say, copy and paste this, I'll leave it as the color green, and I'll put this, I'll leave it as 6, put it as div3, refresh, and it's on a separate line because there were only 2 columns left, but div3 spanned 6 columns, hence it went on another line. Again, it's the same principle as using columns as we have done before. And finally, I'm just going to show you that you can actually go even further and just add as many nested columns as you want. So if I were to just do another div row, and inside here, I think you guessed it, you need to put another div with class col-xl, and for this I'm gonna put -3, -4 actually. Copy and paste this. I'm actually not going to put any content inside here. I'm just going to style it with some color. So I'm going to put red. No, I'm going to put green and blue. Yeah, green and blue. Go back, refresh. You can see it right at the top. Actually, it's probably best if I do put some content in there. I'm going to put 1 and 2 because otherwise it's going to be not very tall and it's going to be very hard to see. So if I go back, refresh, so there we go, we got 1 and we have 2. If we just go back to it, you might be thinking why this is spanning more than this. It's not, it's just the background is blue as well. So if I actually change that to a red color, blue wasn't the best color to choose, go back, refresh, and there we go. We've got column, we got a column or an element which spans 6 columns. Within that we have another column which spans, I believe it was 4 columns. Then within that we got 2 more elements that span 4 columns each, and there are 4 columns left over. So there you go, that's how to nest columns within each other. If I were to start resizing this, the reason the nesting isn't working anymore is simply because we only applied it to the extra large screen size. Principle is the same, like I've said, as columns. So if you want nesting to be done on the smaller screen sizes, you just have to apply the appropriate column screen size and the column number of columns that you want it to span, and also you can use column offsetting as well. So this is it for nesting columns. If you have any questions, feel free to post them on sonarlearning.co.uk/question.php. There'll be a link in the description to that, plus there'll be another link to the source code from this video. Please rate, comment and subscribe, as it does really help keep the content free, and it also helps us provide more content on a regular basis. And as usual, thank you for watching.